Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter.
Present.
DeLong.
Present.
De Silva.
Here.
Edgeworth.
Present.
Flanagan. Gallant.
Here.
Golding.
Here.
Gurr. Hunt.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Karras.
Here.
Kasama.
Here.
Wynn.
Here.
Chair Considine.
I am here, and we do have a quorum. Would you please record Assemblymember Flanagan present when they arrive? Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. As always, I'd like to begin with some housekeeping measures. Please, first, check and silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide your business card to our committee secretary. When testifying, please turn the microphone on and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. If providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public, and electronic copies should have been submitted for our committee members by 9 a.m. yesterday. As always, we expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And I encourage committee members to ask questions and engage with the material presented. If you have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me so that we can ensure that we balance our time effectively during the meeting. And with that, let's get started. Today, we will hear 3 bills. We'll begin with Senate Bill 208, which revises provisions governing certain surcharges imposed by a county. Next, we will hear SB 325, which authorizes certain counties and cities to establish a program relating to the adoption of certain animals. And finally, we will hear Senate Concurrent Resolution 2, which recognizes the Fruit Loop as a historical LGBTQ+ landmark in Clark County, Nevada. And I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 208. To present this measure, we have Senator Steinbeck, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you to the entire committee. I appreciate the opportunity to present here today. My name is John Steinbeck, and I'm representing Senate District 18 in Clark County. I appreciate this opportunity. With me today, also down south in Las Vegas, is Rich Hogan, and he is the Chief Financial Officer with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Under existing federal law, the Federal Communications Commission regulates the use of funds collected from surcharges for emergency 911 services to prevent their diversion. These funds are used to support and implement emergency services and manage public safety answering points, otherwise known as dispatch centers. In Nevada, counties have been authorized to impose surcharges for enhancing emergency telephone systems and purchasing law enforcement recording devices. However, the current framework requires updates to align with evolving needs and regulatory requirements. For that purpose, SB 208 expands the permissible uses of surcharge revenue to include costs associated with constructing and upgrading facilities for emergency telephone systems. This is allowable use by the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 47, and has been reportedly adopted in over 40 states. SB 208 also increases the maximum fund balance to $15 million in counties over 700,000 in population, and would raise the threshold in counties between 100,000 and 700,000 to $7,500,000. This bill does not raise the surcharge fees that are charged to our citizens, as that is controlled at the county level. After discussion with various stakeholders, we anticipated multiple amendments. I'll talk about how those went right now. The first amendment we got back removed all the language for the 911 surcharge use for body cameras. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear on this point, that law enforcement cameras will still be able to be purchased following the adoption of this bill if you choose to vote it through. Originally, we were going to take that language out, and the reason for taking that language out was to line up with federal regulations. Currently, that's not identified as a permissible use under the federal code. And Nevada's on the list of states that are on diversion because of the use of that money. And so we did want to clean that up, but after speaking with many of the local municipalities that are utilizing that, it was decided to leave that language in place as they did not have a funding resource for that. They can still come in compliance simply by no longer utilizing those funds and using different funds for that purpose. So the language that we were changing in the bill originally has all been returned back, and there's no effect on the body camera use. An additional amendment increased the counties, as I mentioned before, specifically for Washoe County, that between 100,000 and 700,000, they could carry a higher balance up to $7.5 million. And the last amendment that had come through was from the telecommunications sector, and they just want us to be clear that the only facility uses that we would utilize the money for was the area of a dispatch center. So if you had a building, take this building for example, and you had a dispatch center on the first floor, you wouldn't utilize the money to make improvements on the fourth floor, which is very fair. So we cleared that up as well. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rich Hogan in Las Vegas, with your permission, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for your time this morning. Again, thanks to Senator Steinbeck for sponsoring this bill on our behalf. And it's by way of kind of introduction, Southern Nevada has 5 primary public safety answering points. One of those is administered by Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, serving the city of, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but would you mind please stating your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies. Thank you, Madam Chair. My apologies. Again, for the record, Rich Hogan, Chief Financial Officer, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We have 5 primary public safety answering points in Southern Nevada, one administered by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, serving the citizens and visitors to Clark County and the city of Las Vegas. The cities of North Las Vegas, Henderson, Boulder City, and Mesquite also have primary public safety answering points. We also have many secondary public safety answering points, the primary one being a joint fire service, joint fire dispatch center, which is administered by the city of Las Vegas, but serves as the recipient and dispatcher of calls related to to fire and medical. The changes that are proposed in this legislation, like Senator Steinbeck said, do not impose a tax. They merely allow it to become, or a fee rather, they merely allow it to become more functional for us. For example, raising the fund balance that can be carried forward from $5 to $15 million is a bit of a practical matter. It's very difficult when you have multi-million-dollar projects and multi-million-dollar recurring charges to have a fund balance that is only $5 million when we have projects that are in excess of that. Finally, the expansion to allow for construction of dispatch centers is very beneficial to all of the entities that would be potentially receiving those funds, in that we each experience times when we are looking to either modify or expand our facilities as the population and the tourist volume grows in Southern Nevada. For example, we are in the process of completing design for a joint communication center between the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and the Joint Fire Communication Center. It will serve as the second public safety answering point, providing us some geo-redundancy in various parts of the valley. So we'll have 2 dispatch centers serving the citizens and visitors in Clark County, with the ability to use a portion of those funds, at least for construction, that will really help offset those costs.
Thank you, Rich. And so, Madam Chair and committee members, just to close,
Sorry,
Nevada's.
would you state your name for the record? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I apologize for that. I owe you 10 push-ups. John Steinbeck for the record. Nevada dispatch centers are vital to providing emergency services. We have no response without accurate call taking and dispatching of our resources. And frankly, our dispatch centers throughout the state are undersized and out of date. And so we're asking for your support, and we're available for questions.
Thank you both very much for that presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions? Seeing none, thank you again for the presentation. We will now move on to testimony. You can provide testimony, as always, in person here in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone with further instructions for providing the testimony found on the agenda. We will begin our testimony here in Carson City, so please go ahead whenever you are ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee, Jason Walker, JASONWALKER, representing the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, supporting Senate Bill 208. We are appreciative of the efforts of Senator Steinbeck, as well as being available to meet with us to allow us to voice our concerns with the original bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matijevich, CADENCEMATIJEVICH, Government Affairs Liaison for Washoe County. We are here in support of SB 208. We appreciate the senator bringing it forward. And I do think it's important to note that, as you see in the bill, this surcharge is collected by counties. But as you heard from Mr. Hogan, it's not just counties that utilize this money. It's all of our public safety answering points. So fire departments, police departments. So this is a funding source for many local governments. The provision particularly relating to the ending fund balance for Washoe County is important. As you all know, projects are costing more and more money. And so if we are trying to save up enough money to do a major capital project, unfortunately, $5 million may not be enough. And so we may need to accumulate those funds over time, and appreciate that provision of the bill and would ask for your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. For the record, Ryan Beeman, representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. First, I'd like to say thank you to Senator Steinbeck for sponsoring this important piece of legislation, and to the chair and committee hearing this bill. I'm here today to express my strong support for Senate Bill 208 as a critical piece of legislation that directly impacts the safety and efficiency of emergency response systems in Nevada. Communication is critical all the time for firefighters and the job that we do, and this will definitely help out with that, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Nicole Rourke, representing the city of Henderson. We're here in support of this bill, and as Mr. Hogan mentioned, we also have a dispatch center and look forward to participating in these funds, so thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Randy Robison, Director of Government Affairs, City, Las Vegas, in strong support of this measure. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen. Wesley Harper, Director of Government Affairs for the City of North Las Vegas. We thank Chief Steinbeck for bringing this bill forward. North Las Vegas is in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of SB 208? Seeing no one, we will go to Las Vegas. Gentlemen in Las Vegas, please go ahead in support of Senate Bill 208.
Good morning, committee. Brian O'Neill, Deputy Fire Chief, Clark County Fire Department, Office of Emergency Management, speaking today in support of Senate Bill 208. Technology and facility improvements to enable next-generation 911 and public safety answering points will enable responders to arrive to the right calls with the right resources faster than we ever have before. This surcharge will create a stable and consistent fund for public agencies to improve their 911 dispatch centers, as well as turn the 911 system into a public good, ensuring equal access to emergency services. Regardless of jurisdiction handling the response or where the call is answered, The public can rest assured the ability to access 911 and for responders to navigate to those emergencies will have consistency and reliability as a result of access to these funds. It's important to have flexibility in spending the 911 surcharge funds in a way that allows the right technology to be tested, trusted, and implemented deliberately without rushing due to fiscal timelines. Allowing more funds to carry over year to year will allow that greater flexibility and acknowledges that technology is rapidly changing, and at times it may be fiscally responsible to wait on a purchase rather than rush to a purchase. Senate Bill 208 will ensure the funding to effect changes that will improve the public safety enterprise and the corresponding outcomes of those relying on emergency services. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else at the table in Las Vegas, AVH will go to you for testimony in support of SB 208.
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 208, please press *9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. We will then move on to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to SB 208? Seeing no one come up to the table and seeing no one in Las Vegas, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to 208? Again, seeing no one at the table, we'll move to AVH. Is there anyone on the lines to testify in opposition to SB 208?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 208, please press *9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. We will then move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on SB 208? Seeing no one approach, we will go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral on SB 208? Seeing no one approach the table in Las Vegas, AVH, we're back to you for neutral testimony on SB 208.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 208, please press *9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. We would now invite the presenter to come up for any final remarks. And he would waive any final remarks. So at this point, thank you so much. We will close the hearing on Senate Bill 208. And we will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 325, which authorizes certain counties and cities to establish a program relating to the adoption of certain animals. To present this measure, we have Senator Doniate. Please go ahead when you are ready.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to the members of the Assembly Committee of Government Affairs. For the record, my name is Fabian Añate, and I'm here to present on Senate Bill 325, a bill that waives the adoption fees for dogs and cats for veterans, law enforcement officers, and first responders. And today, I'm joined by my guest from Las Vegas, Ms. Samantha Bivens. Today, we'll go over the bill language, background, and the provisions of the bill. Senate Bill 325 is an act relating to animals requiring any government body or county or incorporated city and certain nonprofit organizations that operate an animal shelter to establish a program to waive the adoption fee of certain pets adopted by a person who is a veteran, member of law enforcement, or a first responder, requiring such reporting mechanisms there beyond. A little bit about the background of what we're talking about today. In 2020, the Pets for Vets Act, which was SB 245, took effect in California, allowing veterans with a valid veteran driver's license or to adopt any cat, dog, or rabbit for free. The program received a surge of positive feedback, and veterans in Nevada are eager about the possibility of the waiver being introduced in this state. Owning pets, especially dogs and cats, have been shown to improve veterans' mental health. Veterans report feeling calmer, less lonelier, and more secure when they have a dog, and the benefits are particularly strong for those with PTSD, leading to better self-care, increased completion of household tasks, and meaningful reductions in PTSD symptoms. At the same time, shelters are facing an overflow of pets in need of loving and caring owners, and pairing veterans with these animals creates a mutually beneficial relationship, improving veterans' mental health while giving pets a stable home. With that being said, SB 325 would require, or essentially would allow counties and cities with animal shelters to establish a program to waive adoption fees for veterans, law enforcement officers, and first responders to the extent that funding allows. And then obviously there's provision in terms of reporting requirements. Chair, at this time, I would like to go ahead and turn over to Ms. Bivens to go ahead and provide her remarks.
Thank you for the presentation. We do have a couple of questions. The first, oh, I'm so sorry. Before we go to questions, we will go to Las Vegas. Thank you. Please go ahead.
For the record, Samantha Bivens. Good morning, Chair Considine, esteemed members of the committee. I'm very grateful to be here this morning, and I'm excited for the opportunity to co-present this important and impactful legislation with my close personal friend, Senator Fabian Dugnate. When I say that I am an ardent and passionate supporter of our military members, veterans, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and first responders, these are not merely words to me. I am proud to say that I am the widow of Craig, a combat Marine with the 1st Marine Division at Camp Pendleton, California. My middle son, Benjamin, is a staff sergeant currently serving with the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And my partner, Lee, is a master sergeant in the Air National Guard and in Cheyenne, Wyoming, who has been serving our country for almost 19 years. Since 2023, I have been serving in the City of Las Vegas Councilwoman Frances Allen Polensky's office, where one of my tasks is to handle any military or veteran issues which come into the office. From 2018 through 2021, I served as a district representative for both Congressman Reuben Kuhn and Congressman Stephen Horsford, where I was responsible for the military, veterans, law enforcement, fire services, and first responder portfolios. It was during this time that I worked on hundreds of constituent cases and attended more community events than I can possibly count. Through the years, I became close with all of these groups and developed many personal bonds, so close, in fact, that my personal and professional life became one. In return, although I myself am not a veteran or a first responder of any kind, I was given a tremendous gift. The trust and faith of these men and women who put on a uniform and served or are currently serving our communities and our country. They have shared stories of trauma, debilitating injuries, death, and guilt with me, nightmares of the loss of friends in combat and civilian casualties, which oftentimes lead to the breakdown of marriages and families. All of these things and more are what cause PTSD, depression, anxiety, and addiction. Life is a series of highs and lows and successes and failures, and sometimes people come together at the perfect moment in time. That time came in December 2024 at a watch party for the Army-Navy game. As an Army mom, I was really bummed out that they didn't win the game, but I was introduced to Penny Lambright, the founder of Patriots and Paws, a nonprofit organization which benefits active duty military veterans and their families in Southern California. She spoke about SB 245, the Pets for Vets Act, which was passed in 2020, and asked if something like this could be brought to Nevada. I read the bill and got instantly excited. Good legislation is undeniable, and I knew we had something that could receive bipartisan support. I reached out to Senator Dugnate to pitch the bill, and he obviously jumped at the opportunity to introduce it. We convened a meeting with Hillary Gray from the Animal Foundation to discuss how the bill language could be tailored to meet the guidelines specific to Nevada, which has brought us here today. To some, SB 325 is just an animal bill, but when you really read the language, it has the ability to accomplish so much. This bill can decrease the euthanasia rates for shelter dogs and cats and reduce shelter operational costs, while simultaneously benefiting military service members, veterans, law enforcement officers, and first responders who are suffering from PTSD, depression, and anxiety by providing them with an animal companion. These are all realistic goals which can be achieved by shelters waiving pet adoption fees for these specific group of individuals. According to the Animal Foundation shelter statistics for 2024, a total of 3,318 dogs and cats were euthanized last year. Statistics gathered by the Veterans Administration list 113 veteran suicides in Nevada in 2022. The Law Enforcement Suicide Data Collection reports that more law enforcement officers are dying by suicide each year due to mental health struggles than in the line of duty. The psychological and physical health benefits of service animals for veterans have been studied for years. As such, in recent years, law enforcement agencies around the country have taken note and began to integrate therapy dogs into their forces. Some of the benefits of pet ownership include reduced PTSD symptoms and severity, improvements in emotional and social well-being, enhanced sleep quality, increased physical activity, and reduced suicidal ideation. I personally know of 15 to 20 veterans who are leading happy, healthy lives today, specifically because they're dogs. Some even credit their companions with legitimately saving their lives. Chair Considine and committee members, thank you for listening to my testimony this morning, and thank you to Senator Donyate for your desire to present common sense legislation and your wisdom in knowing that you receive the best outcomes for the entire constituency when you are willing to work across the aisle. The military, veteran, and law enforcement first responder communities are comprised of a very unique subsection of our population. These groups include old and young. They represent all genders, all socioeconomic classes, racial and ethnic backgrounds from all over the world, and countless spiritual and faith-based practices. When you are serving these groups, you are truly serving the people. SB 325 can save lives, and there is nothing nobler than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Donyate, and thank you very much, Ms. Bivens, for the presentation. We will now go to questions here in the committee. Our first question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Question super simple. I just want to understand the 6 months that's referenced in the language. I couldn't figure out what it was doing.
Thank you so much, Fabian Donyate, for the record. Just to clarify, you're referring to that you can only take one pet every 6 months. Is that the question, or is it more in terms of the age of the pet?
No, I just wanted to understand because it didn't quite correlate that it was you could only take one pet.
Got it.
It just said waive for 6 months. I wasn't clear on what it meant, but that answers the question of what it means.
Got it. Fabian Donyate, for the record, just to be clear that we're on the same page. So the recommendation, the bill in section 1, subsection 1 references that you can only adopt a pet that is older than 6 months and has been there for at least 7 consecutive days. Generally, this was a recommendation that we received from the Animal Foundation when Ms. Bivens and I met with them. Essentially, the dogs that are, or the animals that are often left behind are the ones that are usually older, and they're the ones that have been there pretty long, and so we wanted to give a priority towards them. That way, we're establishing the mission that we're getting animals out of the shelter, which of course raises the operational cost over time, and making sure that they find a home. So that was the rationality for why that part of it was there. And then the other portion that you can only adopt one for the period of 6 months, that's in subsection 2, that was just a recommendation from the county.
Thank you. Committee, are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you again, and we will move to testimony. Again, testimony can be provided here in person in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or on the phone, and further instructions to provide testimony can be found on the agenda. We will begin with in-person testimony on SB 325 in support here in Carson City. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee. For the record, David Cherry, Government Affairs Manager for the City of Henderson. The city operates an animal shelter, and our top priority is to reunite lost pets with their owners and to find loving homes for pets in need of forever families. We think this is a terrific bill that really honors our first responders, our veterans, and most importantly, I think anybody who's ever had that joy of owning a pet. I myself am a dog owner, and I still remember the joy that we had when we welcomed our current dog, Aria, into our family. I think people recognize that there's a benefit there for that bond that people form with their pets. And if we can help our first responders, our veterans who are dealing with emotional issues, or just brighten their day and brighten their families' lives by giving them an opportunity to adopt a pet at no cost, we think that's a win for everybody. Also, we have capacity issues oftentimes at our shelter, so the more adoptions that we can oversee and the more pets we can place with happy families, then that's a win again for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee, for the record, Randy Robinson, Director of Government Affairs, City, Las Vegas. As usual, my colleague from Henderson has pretty much covered it, so I'll just say we echo those comments.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matievich, representing Washoe County. We too are here in support of the bill and want to thank Senator Donyate for bringing it forward. For all the reasons that you've heard, this is a great bill. I do want to thank him for recognizing and making some minor changes in the bill that you see there that do recognize the fact that in some of the smaller local governments, this just may not be fiscally possible. So we appreciate the provisions that say to the extent that funding is available. While this is a great program, we didn't want it to be detrimental to some of the smaller rescue agencies or other folks that partner with counties to mandate it on them, and we appreciate that it is enabling. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in Carson City approaching the table, we will move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of SB 325? Seeing no one, we will move to AVH. Is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of SB 325?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 325, please press *9 now to join the queue.
Hi, this is Penny Lambright, the founder of Patriots and Paws, and I would like to share my support in this bill. In California, we have it, and I'm the one who brought it to Samantha Bivens, and am very excited that we have gotten this far. It is very important that the veterans and first responders are given the opportunity to be paired up with animals. I firsthand know what animals can do for those who are in need to have somebody or an animal that they can share their stories with, who are not judgmental, that they can continue day after day to share their stories with and not have judgment, and just be loved on and share their stories that they can't share with anybody else, so that they can get them out of their systems and not be judged with. So I ask that you support this, that we can save 2 lives in one. So thank you so much for your support.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. We will then move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to SB 325? Seeing no one approach, we will move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to SB 325? Seeing no one approach, AVH, we're back to you for testimony in opposition to SB 325.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 325, please press *9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Okay, thank you. We will now move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on SB 325? Seeing no one approach. In Las Vegas, anyone wishing to testify in neutral on 325? No one approaching the table there. We're back to you, AVH, for neutral testimony on SB 325.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 325, please press *9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenter like to come up to make any final remarks? Waiving final remarks, I will then close the hearing on SB 325. Thank you. And thank you for sticking around. I will now open the hearing on SCR 2, which recognizes the Fruit Loop as a historical LGBTQ landmark in Clark County, Nevada. Thank you, Senator Danyate, and please go ahead when you are ready.
Thank you, Chair, and once again, Fabian Iñate for the record. I wanted to start off by talking about what SAR2 is and why we are here bringing this bill forward. Last September, I was tagged in a couple of TikTok videos showing Las Vegas residents running across the street near a bar in Las Vegas. The bar name is Quads, and it's a lively nightclub in my district. This caught my attention, not just because I was getting tagged, but it made me realize why wasn't there a stoplight or a crosswalk, and why folks were jeopardizing their safety. And so from this article that was highlighted by Fox 5 I think there was a few folks that recognized the need of at least improving what is part of my district. And so at that point in time, I decided to meet with local business owners and patrons of that area to better understand the concerns. This is actually a picture of our first meeting. From that moment, we learned that the conversations that we had in terms of improving the infrastructure of that area, and I'll show you a map later of what part of town I'm talking about. But from that conversation, we had learned that, the effort to put that crosswalk was not a discussion that had happened recently. There have been several accidents that had actually occurred there multiple times. In fact, a week after we had this meeting, there was a patron that got ran over just a few feet away from said crosswalk was to be proposed. But I learned from that conversation that they had been asking for this crosswalk for about 20 plus years. And there has been a constant ask through the county to improve the area. And so our conversations uncovered a long history of struggles with the city and the county. Actually, for this part of town, for the county due to the area's association with the community. And at one point, we know that the police would heavily patrol that area, unjustly targeting members. This was back 40 years plus. The absence of a stoplight was just simply a symptom of a larger issue, and that was what prompted our conversation of what SER2 is today. So today, I will, of course, talk about SER2's bill language and the historical context of what brings us to this conversation. So the Fruit Loop, I know that often we think of what the heck is he talking about? Is he talking about a cereal? I'm not talking about a cereal. I'm talking about the Fruit Loop, which is a place located on East Naples Drive, South Paradise Road, and South University Center Drive in Las Vegas. So the area is right behind, if you've been to Thomas and Mack in Las Vegas, it's a little bit right behind it. It's situated right near the Strip. So this is a historically significant hub for our community. It has fostered activism, community building, and cultural contributions since the 1950s. Through this bill, the Nevada Legislature will officially recognize the Fruit Loop as a historical landmark, emphasizing its role in promoting inclusivity, acceptance, and understanding. The Fruit Loop will collaborate with the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority and the Nevada Division of Tourism to enhance its visibility through marketing materials and directional language with costs underwritten by the Lambda Business Association. The recognition aims to preserve the legacy of the Fruit Loop, support our history in Nevada, and encourage ongoing advocacy efforts for the area's cultural and historical importance. A little bit more about the background of the Fruit Loop. So the foundation of the Fruit Loop was a center for entrepreneurship, which dates back all the way to the 1950s when the first gay bar opened at 4640 South Paradise Road. This set the stage for the wave of entrepreneurial activity, which would now define the area. These early businesses were more than just bars and nightclubs. They were safe spaces for many of our community members to gather and build connections at a time when such spaces were rare and deeply needed. By the late 1980s and the early 1990s, the Fruit Loop began to see a broader mix of businesses. The founding of the Las Vegas Bugle in 1986 established a media presence that gave a voice to the community. And in 1990, the Lambda Studio Community Apartments opened, making a rare example of housing specifically marketed for these residents. The 1990s saw a boom in nightlife and retail. In 1992, the Spotlight Cafe opened at 4637 South Paradise Road, and the Step Above Video Store opened the same year. Meanwhile, the Bright Pink Literature Bookstore became a key cultural touchstone before transitioning to Get Booked in 1993. Really quickly, an interesting fact that I learned about this bookstore. Obviously, these conversations are pretty widely accepted now, but Get Booked didn't just sell queer bookstores. It sold books on feminism, on other subjects that perhaps at that time and place weren't widely accepted. And so it was the only place that you could go to purchase literature or content that you wouldn't be, that is now today widely accepted. A major milestone came in July 2000 with the first published reference to the area as the Fruit Loop. This marked a shift. The Fruit Loop was no longer an informal gathering place, but a recognized cultural and business district. Fruit Loops were more than just a name too. Actual Fruit Loops were distributed at protests and festivals as a symbolic token of solidarity for the businesses in this area. Even after the closure of some legacy venues, new businesses have stepped in to fill the void, but the current infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, does not reflect the long-standing community space. Just as we've seen With other cultural districts like Chinatown, official designation and signage will not only validate the Fruit Loop's historical importance, but also help improve safety and tourism. And as I mentioned, the Lambda Business Association has stepped up, offering to underwrite the cost of requesting such signage. Furthermore, the Nevada Department of Transportation would express, through this process, they would help install proposed exit signs and so forth, making the Fruit Loop more visible and accessible to both locals and to visitors abroad. And so this is a picture you can see of where specifically we're talking. So Paradise Road is probably the most prominent one, and it's by Tropicana. Ultimately, by celebrating the area's rich cultural history and its ongoing impact on the community, we can ensure that the Fruit Loop's legacy continues to thrive for generations to come. Just really quickly, the language that we used for SDR2 was actually the same. We used the same language that was used in the proclamation to designate Chinatown back under Governor Gwynn. And so there is a historical precedence of the legislature or the executive branch getting involved in certain circumstances, and so we use this as part of our model of history. And you can, in one of the exhibits, I believe it's uploaded on Nellis, you can actually look back to the history, the chronological history of this part of town, which of course is still alive and thriving today. I see that Billy's down south, so Chair, I don't know if it would be okay for him to make a few remarks, and then we can answer any questions.
Hello, my name is Billy Pileski, and I am the manager at Quads Video Bar. Quads Video Bar is a gay-owned and gay-operated bar located, in the heart of the Fruit Loop. We have been serving the LGBTQ community for over 11 years now. And prior to the establishment of Quads, it was another bar called Buffalo, which operated for over 20 years in that same space. So, the Fruit Loop has existed in some shape or form now for decades. And it has been a very crucial and vital role to the LGBTQ community because it provides a safe place. The Fruit Loop has been a place for decades now where everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter whether you're gay, you're straight, doesn't matter if you're a local or you're just here for the weekend. We have welcomed everybody with open arms, and we've created this safe place where everybody is free to, express themselves. Everybody is free to be themselves, and they're free to love who they want to love without any fear of, prejudice or harassment. So this has been a crucial and vital, role for the LGBT community for decades. And the establishment of it as a historic area just really recognizes and confirms the importance it is to us, and, members of the LGBT community. But I also hope that by establishing it as a historic area, it's going to also help to grow and develop the area. I hope to see that it spurs, more gay-owned, gay-operated businesses to, pop up in the area. But I think the most important thing is that I hope that by the designation of this as a historic area, it helps to preserve this area so that future generations also have a place where, they could go out and not only congregate and have fun, but like I said, places where everybody is welcome and everybody feels safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Fabian Nunez, for the record, that concludes our remarks, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation, both of you. We do have some questions here on the committee. We will start us with Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate your desire to get recognition for that area in Las Vegas, between the university and the Strip. I know as I grew up, the term fruit referring to someone who's gay was a pejorative slur. Has there been any thought of the fact that we're putting that word into state law, quote unquote state law? Was that taken into consideration?
Thank you so much, Fabian Nunez, for the record. That's an excellent question. That was the first question I asked myself as well. That came up during the conversation that we had with some of the community stakeholders. I think there were two questions that came up, or two responses. The first response is, from my, and Billy, feel free to chime in on this. It was referred to as a Fruit Loop because it actually was a loop, right? With the infrastructure back in the 90s and the 2000s. But the community members, when I asked them that question of, are you sure this is what you want? It's not, an SDR is not state law, but it's an equivalent to it because it's still designation from the legislature. But historically, if this is the name that you want for the area, are you okay with proceeding forward? Because this is what historically it's been known as. And from my understanding, based on the conversations with the community, it was a term used as reclamation. And so they were comfortable with naming it the Fruit Loop because historically that's what it's always been referred to, and that's what locals know it as. And so, Billy, I don't know if there's anything else you want to elaborate on the conversation we had with some of the community members.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of covered it. It is something that this area, even when I first moved to Vegas, you know, someone told me like, oh, we're going out in the Fruit Loop tonight. And I was like, wow, what's that? You know, it's something where we all endearingly, you know it as the Fruit Loop. And we've come, you know, we love the Fruit Loop. And it's something where, yeah, fruit was a derogatory term in the past, but we kind of took it, reclaimed it, and, you know, we embrace it now.
Mr. Pileski, will you please state your name for the record?
Yeah, Billy Pileski, last name Pilesky.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I'm very familiar with the area. I know there is a one-way street. Is there any discussion about possibly slowing down the traffic in that area that's the one-way street?
Thank you for the question, Fabian Nyate, for the record. So I don't want to get too into the weeds of this bill specifically. There are a lot of concerns of the issues that have been raised since the beginning of our stakeholder meetings back in September. One of those being pedestrian safety because of the proximity to the airport and the airport loading zone, specifically the Uber drop-off or the waiting area, the docking area for the drivers is right next door. And so this was, for us, the first step that we believe to bring visibility into talking about the infrastructure. We've had a few news articles published since then, and so we hope that with the passage of this bill, we can then work. The county has already been responsive. They actually, because of that article coming out, they did finally paint the crosswalk, and so we're making some improvements, but obviously it's going to take some time. Chinatown was established in the late 1990s, and we're barely talking about the infrastructure in terms of road safety now 20 years later. So it's going to take some time to stand up a nonprofit and so forth to actually make the changes, but this is just the first step to doing so. Yeah.
Thank you. Committee members, are there any other questions? Seeing none, if you are doing any amendments to this and are accepting joint sponsors, I would like to be added. But if we have no other questions, we will then move on to testimony. And as usual, testimony can be provided here in person in Carson City via video conference in Las Vegas or over the phone. And further instructions can be found on the agenda. We will begin with testimony in support of SCR2 here in Carson City in person. Seeing no one approach the table to provide testimony in support of SCR2 here in Carson City, we'll move to Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you are ready.
Hello, good morning, Chair Constantine and members of the committee. My name is Matthew Dang, Director of Grants Analysis and Administration at the LGBTQ+ Center, and I'm proud to speak in support of SCR2. Recognizing the Fruit Loop as a historical LGBTQ+ landmark isn't just about honoring the past. It's about affirming that our stories, our struggles, and our joy matters in Nevada's history. This resolution gives visibility to a community that has long contributed to the cultural and civic life of Clark County. I urge the Assembly to move forward with SCR2 and help make history official. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in Las Vegas approaching the table, AVH will go to you for testimony in support of SCR2.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of STR 2, please press star 9 now to join the queue.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. This is Jessica Munger, MUNGER, Programs Manager for Silver State Equality, Nevada's statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights organization, and we're in strong support of SCR2. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Holly Reese, and I serve as the Senior Director of Programs at the LGBTQIA+ Center of Southern Nevada. I'm honored to be here today to speak in support of designating the Las Vegas Fruit Loop as a site of historical significance. For decades, as you've heard, the Fruit Loop has been more than a collection of bars and clubs. It's been a lifeline. In times where our community was criminalized, marginalized, or simply not safe to exist openly elsewhere, the Fruit Loop offered refuge, identity, and chosen family. It's a place where LGBTQ+ people have gathered not just to celebrate, but to survive. The Fruit Loop represents resilience, joy, activism, and community. Its legacy includes fostering some of our first drag performers, safe nightlife spaces, and political organizing that helped lead to policy changes statewide. Even today, for many queer people and trans Nevadans, this is the area where they first found belonging. Designating this as a historical site is not about preserving buildings. It's about honoring lives, legacies, and the cultural fabric of our state. History is not just what we inherit, it's what we choose to recognize. On behalf of the center and the thousands that we serve, I urge you to vote yes and honor the Fruit Loop as a sacred space it has always been for our community. Thank you very much.
Caller ending in 124, please press star 6 to unmute and begin when ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Wynn, and members of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee. For the record, I am David Parks, DAVID, PARKS. Without being redundant, I would simply like to voice my strong support for SCR2 and thank Senator Donate for introducing this resolution. For 16 of my 24 years as a legislator, the intersections of Paradise, University Center, and Naples were located in my Assembly and Senate districts. Thank you for the privilege of your time. Should you have any questions, I'm happy to try to respond. Thank you.
Chair, there are no additional callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you to all the callers who called in, and it's nice to hear your voice, Senator Parks. And now I will move on to opposition to SCR2 here in Carson City. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? Seeing no one come up to the table, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to SCR2? Seeing no one approach the table, AVH, we're back to you for any opposition to SCR2 on the phones.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. Then we will move on to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on SCR2? Seeing no one approach, going to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral on SCR2? Seeing no one in Las Vegas approaching the table, we're back to you, AVH. Is there anyone on the lines for SCR2 in the neutral position?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenter does not wish to make any final remarks, and I will now close the hearing on SCR2. Thank you. We will now move on to the last item on the agenda, which is public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity to rehear testimony on a bill, and we ask that you please keep your public comment to topics within the jurisdiction of the committee. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit that up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. If you want to comment telephonically, dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 852-3085-1311, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have up to 2 minutes. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there any public comment here in Carson City today? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to make any public comment today? Seeing no one approach the table, AVH, is there anyone on the line for public comment today?
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be Friday, May 2nd at 8 a.m. in room 4100. That concludes our meeting for today. The meeting is adjourned.